Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 413 of the Dramatic Knits podcast. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and checking out this month's recap episode. And welcome. If you are looking for me on Instagram, you can find me as Leading Men Fiber Arts and Dramatic Knits on Ravelry. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new, I hope you enjoy what you see. And if you're a returning viewer, no matter how long, thank you for coming back. As always, please feel free to subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So, it has been a lot going on. The clock is chiming on the town square saying it's time to record. So if you hear that in the background, we do have a big clock on our town square, and the chime did not work for years, and all of a sudden the last few months it's been popping up. So it goes off every 15 minutes or so. But anyway, how have you all been? It has been a whirlwind of an April for myself and Andy, my partner, and for Leading Men Fiber Arts. We have been all over the country in the past month, but I'm so happy to be able to carve out a little bit of time to sit down and show you some of the progress I've made, finished objects that I've finished, as well as a lot of haul that I purchased on the road over the last month. So I think I have all my notes together. So I think we're going to dive right into what's been going on in the last month here in our central part of the U.S. where we're from. For those of you that are new, Leading Men Fiber Arts is an indie yarn dyeing company based in Clinton, Illinois, which is a small, rural, central Illinois town. We're about a half hour south of Bloomington, about 45 minutes from Springfield and Champaign, and about a half hour north of Decatur. So if you're familiar with any of those larger cities in central Illinois, we are right in between all four of them. So taking a look back at the month, where have we been? We started off the last month since we've last spoke. We went to Greencastle, Indiana, and vended at the Greencastle Wool Show. It had been a couple of years since we had been back at that show, and it was great to return. It was a nice event. Not as many people as used to come to the event, so I hope that it continues to grow traction and steam and continue to thrive as a festival, because as we know, we can always use more festivals and more events to celebrate the making community. So it was great to catch up with people there, see some vendor friends as well as locals that we haven't seen in a while, or it's been a little while since we've been in the area. Unfortunately, next year it coincides with YarnCon, which we have our fingers crossed to be returning to YarnCon in Chicago. So as of right now, it looks like we will not be at Greencastle in 2026. But it was a great event. We were lucky enough to get into the heated building, and it was rather a chilly weekend. So I was really happy to not be in one of the outside barns, which we had always been in the past. But did get to go check out the vendors and say hi and catch up with quite a few people as we perused the outdoor barns as well. Then I think we had a weekend or two off, and then we were down in St. Louis for the Midwest Fiber Festival. Andy and I actually took a little bit of a vacation. We went down a day early and we went and saw Alyssa Edwards, who is a recently crowned drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race. And she won the first ever season of Global All-Stars, which we haven't actually watched, which was kind of a hindrance to her show because about half of her show, she was recapping her time on the show. So we were kind of lost, but it was a good time. It was great to see her in person. This is the second time we've seen her, but this is the first solo show we've seen. We've seen a drag queen Christmas down in St. Louis at the same venue. And it just so worked out that her show was the day before we had to set up for Midwest Fiber Fest. So we decided to go down a day early. We did some shopping at the mall. I got some new clothes, which was great. Slowly rebuilding my wardrobe, and got to go to the event. We stayed at the something about a moon hotel. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's literally right next door to the Pageant Theater, which is where the show was at. So we got to spend a night there and enjoy the show and a little bit of a date night for Andy and myself, which we don't get to do nearly as often as we would like. So then we had the Midwest Fiber Festival. Great event. Heather and the team. Heather is the owner of YarnCom, which is a local yarn store in St. Louis, but she started the Midwest Fiber Festival. This was year 4, I believe. And we have been there since the very beginning. It's a great event. Heather takes care of her vendors, and the volunteers and committee there do a wonderful job of putting on the event. We had a great time vending, catching up with friends, and making new friends. We did a fun scavenger hunt in our booth each day with a skein marked in the booth somewhere that it was a winner and they won a free skein. We had some clearance yarn. It was a great time. Andy also got to go to the Lego store, so he was doing Legos at the event and got some new sets there. And then we were literally home for about 2 days, packed up the van, and started our drive to Maryland. And we've ended at Yarn Centric, which is a pre-Maryland Sheep and Wool event put on together by 29 Bridges Studio, which is another indie yarn dyeing company. And they organize this wonderful event as a pre-Sheep and Wool festival. So we left on Wednesday. We drove about 8 hours on Wednesday and stayed somewhere in Pennsylvania. And then we did the last 3-hour leg Thursday morning before setup. We actually, it worked out really well. Andy loves history and loves doing a little bit of sightseeing where we can. And so literally off of one of the small 2-lane highways we were driving, it said, turn here for Fort Necessity. So Andy and I got to visit Fort Necessity, gave me a little bit of a history lesson while we were there. It is pretty much, as he explains to me, where the French and Indian War was started by George Washington. And I was a little disappointed because the fort obviously is not the original fort. And I was like, well, what are we looking at? We're basically looking at the mounds around the fort are original that were built there to then give them some security in their fort while the skirmish was going on. But it was literally off the road. It was like super quick to hop off, walk around for 15-20 minutes and get back in the van and finish our leg. So Andy really enjoyed being able to get out there and see something of the world on our travels. So we got in and set up for Yarn Centric on Thursday. The organizers were really welcoming, and they actually offered for us, they had a small stage area in front of the meet and greet booths with Knitty Natty and the Drunk Knitter. And so we actually got to set up on the stage, which worked out really well for us because we were able to bring more yarn than we were anticipating and really kind of spread out and bring a larger selection of our yarns to that event. Got to meet a lot of new vendors that I have not seen in person, as well as make connections, specifically with Lemonwood accessories. And I'm looking forward to talking with you in the future about we will be offering their products online and in-store soon. They sent me home with a bunch of stuff to see how it does in the store and to travel with. So I'm super excited to delve into that once I get everything back to a sense of normalcy. We are kind of in a crazy way of the studio right now, and orders and emails and tons of things to get through. But today was about recording and connecting with you all, and I'm so happy to be able to sit down and carve out a little time to chit chat with you all. So we got back. I really wanted to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, but Andy was kind of like, it's another festival. He's not interested in going, but he was willing to go with me. But it was about a half hour in the opposite direction of home. Weather is usually pretty crappy. And if we were to have gone, we would have had to leave around lunchtime, would have had to drive a good leg on Saturday, stay in a hotel, get up, drive the rest on Sunday, and we wouldn't have had a day off at all, really, because we would have been driving on Sunday. So I made the decision. I was like, you know what? I really don't need to go to the festival. I've got plenty of stash. I do not need to be purchasing anything. It would have been nice to have visited, but we decided to get up and leave around 8 o'clock in the morning and drive the 11 hours straight home. We did get home Saturday night. I was relatively happy we did not attend the festival because they did have a really bad storm come through the festival in the afternoon. We might have missed it. We were driving through rain for most of the day, but nothing outrageously bad. But they did get a decent sized storm at the festival, so it actually worked out well. Never say never. We will hopefully be in the area again and be able to attend sometime in the future. But it just did not work out this year, but it worked out best for us to not attend. So we did get home Saturday. We did take Sunday off. We were like, okay, we do need to have a day of not doing anything work-related and relaxing and doing a little bit of work around the house because we don't do nearly enough as we should. And then we dyed yarn on Monday, and Tuesday we got ready and loaded the van and headed up to Rosemont, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago, for H&H Americas. This is an industry insider event, a wholesale show, if you will, for yarn stores, companies, designers, influencers, content creators, and it is like our biggest business show of the year. And we really had a game plan this year for what we were doing. So we got up there a little around lunchtime on Tuesday. We unloaded the van. We threw our stuff upstairs for the Sample It event. So on Tuesday night, there was an hour-and-a-half event with, I think, about 50 to 70 companies that all had their own table. It was like a speed shopping event where people who signed up to go could go around and see what was hot or new from all the different companies that were represented at the Sample It and purchase things to take home, to try out, and to experiment with. So we went with well over 100 little kits of different things, some with minis, some full skeins, and we did sell quite a bit at Sample It. We sold most of the rest on the show floor throughout the rest of the week. We do have quite a bit of the Alphabet Shawl kits left over, but those are available online. But we did get our booth put together on Tuesday, put any finishing touches on it on Wednesday. We brought a lot of minis to show as many colors as possible. We then highlighted our colorway of the month as well as our yarn bases, and then offered a curated set of colors that are a good beginner pack for shops. And we did have a couple of shops order those to bring us in. We did get a few new shops that will be carrying Leading Men Fiber Arts, as well as reorders from shops that we've met there over the last 2 years. Andy and I did get to walk around and see a few new items. We were especially looking to expand into our cross-stitch collection, with me now starting a floss tube and seeing a little bit more traction into the cross-stitch community here in the storefront. We talked with DMC. We have an idea of how much a complete DMC display and rack will cost us, and we are planning on ordering that here in the next few weeks. As well as I got to meet a company out of Portland, Oregon called Junebug and Darlin. We did order some beginner-friendly cross-stitch kits from her. That will be coming soon. I got some floss drops and floss organizers from our friends at Wild Stitchers. And I got a couple of beginner-friendly cross-stitch bookmark kits from Forbidden Fiber Company, and got to catch up with and meet a lot of different companies as well. We were really not going to purchase a whole lot this year. We are still in a state of flux with managing what we have with bringing new stuff in. But H&H Americas was a whirlwind, but it was a great show. We packed up on Friday. It was a Tuesday pre-setup, pre-sample it, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were the show, so it was a lot of time on the show floor. We did have the opportunity to go on Wednesday night to the Malabrigo anniversary party. It was their 20th anniversary on Wednesday, and We did sign up to go to their anniversary party. It was absolutely wonderful. We do not currently stock Malabrigo, but I had previously opened an account, hence why I was invited to go. And it was great to just see how, even though Malabrigo seems like such a large company, which it still is family owned, to hear their story, how far they've come in the 20 years. They had wonderful food and desserts and drinks there. I might have enjoyed the open bar a little bit, to the point that I felt it the next day. We did go with our friend Ben, who owns Have You Any Wool out of the Buffalo, New York area. And we were chatting with him at the show and said, why don't you come along? So it was great to have somebody to have dinner with and chat with and enjoy the atmosphere. We took a funny photo, which I'll insert here. In the Malabrigo swag bags, there were these little stocking caps, so we put those on our head and took a funny photo. But will show you the swag bag, and I'm actually going to be giving one away because Ben was generous enough to give me his swag bag to give away to you all here on the podcast. So yeah, great time. We were home and home Friday night. We did actually take Saturday and Sunday off. We did come in on Saturday morning just to unload the van, and lo and behold, a customer walked in right as we were getting ready to leave. So we did sell a skein of yarn to the said customer, but we did take the day off, did some grocery shopping. I mowed the back lot here on Sunday, but that's about it. It was really nice to have 2 days off. Andy felt reinvigorated, even with everything stress-wise of coming back to it all today. He's been all smiles and in a good mood, which is really nice, because I've been the one who's like, I don't even know where to start. I get overwhelmed a lot, especially when we're gone for a while and emails pile up, orders pile up, and I tend to get quite overwhelmed. But he's been very good at balancing me and calming me down and saying, we'll get through it like we always do. And that we are very lucky to feel overwhelmed sometimes. You know, it's easy to see the stress of it all, but not always to highlight the positivity of our hard work does pay off, and that what we offer to this community, to the makers community, is well received, and that Leading Men Fiber Arts has carved out our little piece in the community. So that's where we've been. We've been to Indiana, St. Louis, Maryland, and Chicago, and we will be in Michigan this weekend. And then we actually have 2 weekends off. So excited for that. All right, now that we're almost 20 minutes in and I've recapped where we've been, let's go right into what I finished. I left it on the mannequin out there, but I did finish my Adriana by Berroco design team. I knit this using Berroco Millefiori Light in color number 6821, which is Andromeda, and I knit it using a size 5 US 3.75 millimeter needle. The knitting's been done for a while, but it did take me quite a long time, several nights worth, to get all the fringe cut and attached to the poncho, but it really does add that finishing touch to the poncho, because once the knitting was done, I was like, okay, well, it's kind of done, but I don't know, fringe is fringe, but it really does add that little icing on top to make it what it is. So it's really cool because you knit the front and then go over and knit the back, then you pick up the sides and knit those out. So the stripe, the color shifting direction changes. And then of course the fun fringe at the bottom also adds something as well. So I'm happy to have that off my needles. We've got it displayed right here, which is kind of right next to our Millefiori stock. I did end up breaking into the 5th ball to finish the fringe right at the end. We only had 5 balls of each color, and this is the small size, which said it would need 5 balls, and I did end up with the fringe breaking into the 5th. I do think you could probably get the next size up, the medium, out of 5 balls, but I think the medium and large says you need 6. But yeah, we're excited to showcase that and hopefully move some of the Millefiori Light now that we have an idea and a physical representation of what to do with the yarn in the store. Okay, so let's move into my works in progress over the last month. I'm continuing to work on Among the Wildflowers by Lisa K. Ross. And I'm doing this as a studio sample. We did dye up several yarn sets for this pattern when it was released. We're currently out of this yarn set combo, but we do have 2 other ones. I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper in the colorway Krampus for the main color. And then 5 mini skeins, Showstopper mini skeins in the colors Grease Lightning, Knitty Natty, Suns Out, Buns Out, Snark Attack, and Sugar Plum Fairy. And I was working on this yesterday, and I did have to go to a much longer needle to make it a little more comfortable. But I am done with both Wildflower sections, which are those kind of elongated stitch sections, and working on this divider again before I do some rows of the contrasting colors. But I am really loving how the speckled mini skeins are playing against the main color. This color combo closely mimics the original combo that Lisa used in her design, which I think she originally designed out of Emma's yarn. And yeah, it's going. This is being knit on a size 4 US 3.5 millimeter needle, and I'm enjoying it, especially now that the Wildflower section is done. The rows are getting quite long though, but I'm enjoying seeing it grow. So that's going very well, enjoying that. Next up is Stole by Theresa Gaffey, and I'm using Isager yarn Alpaca 2 in colors 16, 21, 23, 24, 3, 40, 43, 52, and E8S. 9 colors. I purchased this as a kit from, I can't remember, the Yarnery at a Stitches event many years ago. And I have introduced the 3rd color. So it starts out with the gold, goes into the taupe, and then now is the blue. There will be 9 colors, all the same width, but it is a quick or easy ribbed pattern, but it is meant to be blocked out. So it will get quite a bit more length to it. It's very drapey and soft. It is a fine fingering weight. So it's got a lot of drape and loft to it. And yeah, it's a very simple knit, long rows, mindless, not too hard to pick up and drop down. And this is being knit on a size 5 US 3.75 millimeter needle as well. My final project that I have been working on is a new cast on, I believe, since we last spoke, and that is Camp Wilkerson by Caitlin Hunter. I am doing this as another studio sample. I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Dramaturg, which is our DK weight, in Shadows in the Trees, Fireball, Dust in the Wind, and Dirty Truce. And I'm knitting this on a size 6 US or 4 millimeter needle. And I've gotten about halfway done, not quite halfway. And I am in the middle of a row, so you can't see. But the dark green is Shadows in the Trees. This is Fireball, which is a lovely multicolored. Then we have Dust in the Wind, and this is Dirty Truce. It's very much giving autumnal vibes. I was thinking, since I am going to be at Rhinebeck this year, and we are going to be vending at a woolen affair, the pre-Rhinebeck event, I'm thinking that this will be a great piece to wear to Rhinebeck. I would like to do the new So Basic Sweater DK from Max the Knitter. I've done the So Basic fingering twice, once for me and one for Andy, but I think our new Targi Twist DK would be a great sample. I don't know if that's going to get done before Rhinebeck, but so you can see here, it's got this arrow kind of shape, and then we move into this eyelet, garter, stockinette, that's all that is. We got a subtle eyelet section in the green, which is going to be the main middle section, and then it goes back into striping, and I think another section of this. So it's going to be a nice wrap. I am knitting this as part of our Create and Collaborate Club that we host here at the studio, at the shop, every other Tuesday, and we actually have our next meeting tomorrow, which this probably won't be uploaded until after that. But if you are local, definitely check out on the homepage of leadingmenfiberarts.com under events, has our create and collaborate schedule and suggested guidelines if you so choose to accept the challenge that we put on each quarter. All right, let's move into spinning. I did finish some spinning. This has not been washed or blocked yet, but I finished spinning some Hello Yarn Organic Polwarth in the Skep colorway, and here it is. I got 322 yards of a 2-ply sport weight. It's lovely shades of, it almost looks blue on camera, but it's like an aubergine purple into rusts and golds. So, yeah, I'm really happy to have some spinning done. I'm going to get this washed and blocked, and then I will get it pictured, and it'll be available online and in store here soon. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I love a good Polwarth. I love, I've been doing a lot of mixed blends, and I love a good, just like pure, not necessarily non-superwash, because I do like superwash merino, but things that aren't blended and there's not slubs or neps or things or different fiber contents that can draft differently. So this was really pleasurable. I have not picked my next braid of fiber to spin. I'm going to do that this afternoon once I have some downtime to do some crafting, but I'm excited for this as well. And then, again, Andy did not get me any Legos to show you, but he did finish the Mona Lisa. He purchased that while we were down in St. Louis, and he worked on it. He got the frame and some of it done at Midwest, and then he finished it out that weekend. He was making a joke, and still is making a joke, that he wants to take the hair off of Mona Lisa and then Sharpie in a beard and make it the Mona Stiva. We'll see if that happens. I will definitely get a before and after photo if he ever decides to do that. He also has been spending the last few days at home breaking apart the Taj Mahal. He was about 90% done with that about 5 years ago, and he had to move it off of our dining room table for Easter. And when he went to move it back to the table, he accidentally dropped it, and he put it back in the box, and it lived there for about 5 years. So he was like, you know what, I just need to break it apart and actually disassemble it, because they all come in steps and packages. And he's like, if I break it all apart, I don't know what pieces go with what. I told him that's half the fun, or he should give it to our nephew as a good challenge, but I'm not sure what he's going to do with it. He wants to play around with the pieces. But yeah, so no new Lego update, unfortunately. This is what happens when I tell Andy things are in his hands, and if he wants me to show him, he's got to do it on his own time. Can you tell who's the pest in the relationship about getting stuff done? But I've learned when to pick and choose my battles with him. All right, let's talk about what I've been watching and reading. I have finished 3 books. I'm almost done with a 4th, but I'll save that to talk about next episode. So the first book that I finished is called Stranger in the Woods. This is by Anni Taylor. And I did give it 4 stars on Goodreads. I think this was free with your Audible subscription, so I didn't want to use all of our credits, so I downloaded this one. Here's the synopsis of Stranger in the Woods. Photographer Isla Wilson is thrilled she's landed her dream job, but the clients who hired her are getting stranger by the day. It sounded so perfect, a month's assignment at the misty, sprawling Scottish Highlands property of brilliant architect Alban McGregor and his wife, Jessica. But deep in the woods there is a chilling playhouse. 2 years ago, the McGregor's daughter, Elodie, died after being abducted and taken there. Alban refuses to knock the playhouse down, and he keeps a picture of it on his wall. Isla senses that both Alban and Jessica are keeping terrible secrets. The closer Isla comes to getting answers about Elodie, the more the danger mounts. And with a dense cover of snow now blanketing the town, all chance of escape might already be gone. I thought this was good. It had a lot of twists and turns. I do feel like there was maybe a little bit too many twists and turns, and there was like a whole ending section that just went, okay, really, how much can the stars align that all of this can happen? So that's why I didn't give it 5 stars, but I felt engaged. I felt the narrator did really well because The protagonist is from Australia, and the story takes place in Scotland. So there's a lot of accent switching in the dialogue, and she did a wonderful job. So I definitely say if you're into a good suspense thriller, give Stranger in the Woods by Annie Taylor a shot. Excuse me, this is why I should not drink on the episode. The next book that I finished is Never Been Kissed by Timothy Janovsky. This is from the Boy Meets Boy series. This is book 1. This author was recommended to me by somebody at a show, so I decided to give them a shot. I will say that this was very much a sweet romance. I prefer a little bit more spice in my male literature, but it was cute. I did not enjoy the narrator's tone of voice so much, but I got past it eventually. I did give it 3 stars, not as great as the first one, but here's the synopsis. Dear Never Been Quite Over You Crush. It's been a few years since we were together, but I can't stop thinking about the time we almost... Ren Roland has never been kissed, but he wants that movie-perfect ending where, more than anything, feeling nostalgic on the eve of his birthday, he sends emails to all the boys he loved before he came out. Morning brings the inevitable, oh God, what did I do? But he brushes that panic aside. Why stress about it? None of his could-have-beens are actually going to read the emails, much less respond, right? Enter Derek Haverford, Ren's #1 pre-coming-out crush and his drive-in theater's new social media intern. Everyone claims he's coasting on cinematic good looks and his father's connection, but Ren has always known there's much more to Derek than meets the eye. Too bad he doesn't feel the same way about the infamous almost kiss that once rocked Ren's world. Whatever, Ren's no longer a closeted teenager. He can survive this. But as their hazy summer becomes consumed with a special project that may just save the struggling drive-in for good, Ren and Derek are drawn even closer, and maybe, finally, Ren's dream of a perfect kiss before the credits is within reach. So it's like a never been kissed type synopsis, but it was good. It was cute. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I will check out any more in the series just because it wasn't thoroughly engaged, but it was nice to have on while I listen to a lot of audiobooks now while I'm cross-stitching. And then the last book that I read is White Flag of the Dead by Joseph Talluto. This is from the White Flag of the Dead series. This is book 1. This is a zombie apocalyptic survival series, which I do enjoy from time to time. I believe this was another free one on Audible, and I did give it just 3 stars as well. I do feel like this author was very much into post-apocalyptic strategy and gun knowledge, and not so much the emotional connection. There was a little bit there, but it seemed very much brushed over and not dealt with compared to the things that they were obviously interested in. Short but sweet synopsis on this one. Millions died when the Anilo virus swept the earth. Millions more were lost when the victims of the plague refused to stay dead, instead rising to slay and feed on those left alive. For survivors like John Talon and his son Jake, they are faced with a choice. Do they submit to the dead, raising the white flag of surrender, or do they find the will to fight and to try and hang on to the last shreds of humanity? So this very much seemed like a Walking Dead, we're going to need to make a new society type of thing, and how do we move forward with life after this zombie outbreak, and what does life look like? And so they just start to get into that and establishing that and moving in that direction here in the first book, and I would assume that obviously things will continue in the second book. I may give this one, read the next one in the series, but I believe just the first one was free on Audible. So we'll see if I accrue some credits before I go into that. So those are the 3 books that I finished in the last month. Shows, we did finish the latest season, I think it was season 4 of Only Murders in the Building, of course, starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. I've really come to enjoy that show. It is very well written, and they're already in works on season 5. So I definitely recommend Only Murders in the Building if you enjoy a good kind of campy whodunit murder mystery. We then also finished The Residence. This is on Netflix. I can't remember the lady's name, and if I did, I would probably pronounce it wrong. But this is about a murder that happens at the White House during a state dinner, and they call in a world-renowned detective, Cordelia Cupp, to solve the murder. And she is very, 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 very smart and very good at detecting. And so it is campy, but yet intellectual, well acted, and visually stunning. So definitely say give The Residence a shot. I think it's very well done. I did feel like there were maybe 2 extra episodes that didn't need to be there. They probably could have condensed down a lot into about a 6-episode series rather than 8. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I also then just finished yesterday Dexter Original Sin. This is on Paramount, I believe. It was through Showtime. And I watched the original Dexter series, I believe like through college. I had all the DVDs, I want to say. Can't remember. But I did enjoy the series. I didn't watch the spinoff that, like New Blood or something. I haven't watched that. But this one is Original Sin, goes back to when he first becomes a murderer and how he gets his job as a blood spatter analyst at the Miami Metro Police Department. And there are a lot of names you would recognize in the series, including Sarah Michelle Gellar, Patrick Dempsey, Christian Slater, Christina Milian, as well as many others. And I did enjoy, after many years of not watching the show, being kind of hearkened back to the characters and a thorough explaining of some of the storyline that emerged throughout the original series. So I do recommend Dexter Original Sin. It was also really cool to see there is a guy that I went to college with that was in the theater department with me, and I knew he was a writer on the spin-off series, but he was also a producer here on Dexter Original Sin. So it was great to see the success of some of my former colleagues. And then we watched 2 movies over the last month. We watched G20. This was on Netflix. This stars Viola Davis. She is the president of the United States going to the G20 summit when a terrorist attack happens, and she has to rely on her military background in order to survive and save her family, as well as take care of the terrorist. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was a good Saturday night ride, action thriller. It had good acting, of course, with Viola Davis and among many other great talented actors in the movie. So if you really want something that you're going to enjoy, that's fast-paced, has heart, and is a story that is not often seen, especially with a strong African-American cast in roles of power on multiple levels, I definitely say give G20 a chance. And then on Saturday this week, we watched Blink Twice. This stars Channing Tatum. This is it does have a lot of trigger warnings there. It's also directed by Zoe Kravitz. I forgot that she was the director on this. It has been out for a few months, and I had seen something and then forgot about it. But when we were looking for a movie, I was like, ooh, that's supposed to look good. It is a dark satire, suspense thriller dealing with abuse of power, especially with white men. And Channing Tatum's character is a multi-billionaire CEO of a tech company who was called out for something he did wrong. They never say what. And basically he says he's been focusing on himself for the past year and he bought an island. Well, you come to find out that that island is not everything beautiful and rainbows, and that there are dark and sinister things going on that island. And I'll leave it at that. So they do tell you there are a lot of trigger warnings in there, but I definitely enjoyed the dark satire of seeing the role of women. I could almost see it throughout the dawn of time, like the expanse of history being enveloped in this story, but also specifically in recent times, but also right now too. So you can take what this satire's message is and really apply it to a multitude of different scopes of history and do some reflecting on that. And that was on Amazon, I believe, if you're looking for that. All right. Need a drink? Let's talk stash enhancement because your boy's been bad. But that's okay. I don't really care. Don't care? But anyway, back at Greencastle Wool Show, we got to see our friend Erin at Hinkston Handmade, and I always love picking up her self-striping sock yarn, and she does these matchy-match sets, so they're 250-gram perfectly matched skeins. When I went to her booth, I picked up a skein of malachite, these beautiful greens and teals, striping skeins. And then Andy went over because he always likes to pick up a skein for himself. And he always likes to get something a little quirky and odd. And this is called Untamed. And it's got quite a few. It's got some speckled stripes in there. I actually don't recall seeing this one knit up. But excited to have those from Hinkston Handmade. I have quite a few, lemonade burps. I have quite a few skeins from Erin that need to be knit up eventually, but alas. I also picked up a braid of fiber from Knits and Pearls at that same show. This is called Rain Glow, and this is faux cashmere. So this is 100% nylon, 4 ounces, but it is so soft. And I was talking to the owner of Knits and Pearls and some of the vendor neighbors over there. We were chatting up one afternoon, and this caught out of my side of my eye, and I was like, yes, please, especially because it's kind of as a gradient, so I will probably actually chain ply this and keep it as much as I can as a progressive or gradient in it. So enjoyed that. And then I also got, trying not to make everything crash to the floor over here, I got to meet the owners behind Red Door Fibers, and I picked up 2 skeins of yarn for a sample that they had in their booth. And they specialize in silk blend fibers. So I got 2 skeins of their Chalet DK. This one is in Plum Dandy, and this one is in Bouquet. And I got this for a mosaic knit shawl. Went home, put this in my stash, and realized that I had already assigned 2 skeins of DK to said shawl design, but I did put the same shawl design with this. I may knit it twice. I may find something else. So if you have a good 2 skein DK weight pattern, please recommend that in the comments down below on the video. I'd love to read your suggestions and see if anything strikes my fancy, and then I'll take one of the yarn pairings that I have for the design that I bought this for and switch over the yarn if anything good gets recommended. So these are 231 yards. These are 70% merino, 30% silk in these 2. And I've been trying to be good, even though they don't look as nice on my shelves. But if I buy multiple skeins, because a lot of time I buy multiples for a project, I am bagging them together so that I only have to find one bag instead of multiple skeins for a project. And then last but not least, at Greencastle Wool Show, across from us was Hidden Valley Farm and Woolen Mill. I had purchased fiber from them way long time ago before we even owned Leading Men Fiber Art. So it was probably close to 13 or 14 years ago now that I had bought some bumps of Coopworth, which is what they specialize in. I've spun both of those. This is an 8-ounce bump of Coopworth in the color Kaleidoscope, and they only had one of them left. And I was like, yes, I love the shades in that. So I picked this up right before we packed up and left that show. So I have some new fiber to spin as well there. Then, before we went to Maryland, at the Midwest Fiber Festival, I did not purchase anything. I actually was good. Now that I'm looking at my purchases, I don't have anything from that show, but I was good. But while we were down there, the owner of Anzula Luxury Fibers, based out of California, Calliope, was at the festival, and she came by our booth and said, hey, I'd love to chat about my yarn offerings. She was road tripping from California on her way up to H&H Americas, and she was taking her time and stopping at some of her stockists in the area. And I said, well, she's like, I'm going to be in Illinois on Tuesday. And I said, well, that's the same night as our Create and Collaborate Club. If you have time and want to stop by. And she said, I already put you on my calendar. So she was gracious enough to stop by. She set up a trunk show here at the store last minute and spoke with our group here about her yarns and her story and how her business started and why her yarns are a bit different. And I did purchase a sweaters lot of DK from Anzula at the trunk show. I got 6 skeins of her Maryland base in the colorway Madam. I was going between like a denim-y blue, but I'm like, that's what I always go towards. But I was like, I think I could pull off, see it go with this shirt. I think I could pull off a sweater or cardigan out of this. This is a really nice base. This is 30% superfine merino, 40% silk, 30% yak. 246 yards in each. It is so silky, smooth, drape, just going to be wonderful. And I love the tonality in this. So I got that at the trunk show and to try out, to also try out one of her bases and hopefully in the future be able to stock some Anzula here in store. We would love to. It's just funds. Small business honesty. Got to make sure we keep our funds in a place that we can stay open and that we're not overextending ourselves. And Andy is the guy that makes sure that we can do that. So got that right before we left for Maryland. Then at Yarn Centric, I did make 2 purchases. I saw that Tanny Casey was vending there, and I had heard a lot about her bags, especially on the Needles at the Ready podcast. And she had quite a few bags like in this style that I picked up. This is from Gussy Bag Co. That I picked up at Nash Yarn Fest, and she had quite a few, and I was going to go and get one of these, but I realized my favorite style of bag are a nice sturdy fabric about this size in a zipper pull. That's why I love Fat Squirrel fiber bags, and so I picked out this wonderful mustard yellow and green floral design, and it's got the canvas bottom. I think it's wax canvas bottom. It opens up nice and big, and it was wonderful to meet, I believe, her and her husband. I could be wrong, but they were very nice and welcoming in their booth. It's got a nice lining with 2 pockets on the inside, and like I said, it opens up to a very nice size, so I can fit a nice size project. I love to be able to fit. I do a lot of shawls with a lot of skeins, but I also like to be able to open up my bag and see everything in it and not have to take stuff out to get to certain stuff. So I did pick up a Tanny Casey bag. And then I also got to chat with the dyer and the mom of the dyer from Wool and Vinyl, which they are local to the Frederick, Maryland area. And I picked up 2 skeins of their DK, their hard rock DK, to do the grid gambit. She had a sample of it in her booth, and I was like, yes, I love that. I need a high contrast to do that pattern. So I got a skein of Break My Stride and a skein of no colorway. I called this Mystery because it's a mystery colorway, but it also is this deep, rich blue purple with undertones going throughout. And I thought this would be a wonderful contrast for a Grid Gambit cowl. And then I went to H&H Americas. I got a cross-stitch kit, which I showed in my floss tube, and then I made a few small orders, like I said, for the shop. Personally, I did get a swag bag from Malabrigo's 20th anniversary party. So you got this cool swag bag. And then I got 2 skeins of yarn in there, but I'm going to show you the whole swag bag because this whole bag is going to be up for grabs for you. So the 2 skeins of yarn are a brand new base, which aren't even out. It's not even on Ravelry yet. I think these are coming to stores soon. This is their new bulky weight called Vientos. And it is 130 yards of a bulky to 100 grams. US size 9 to 11 knitting needles, 100% superwash. It is a plump 2-ply. And we got these exclusive colors to the anniversary party. The first one is Viente, which I believe Ben told me it means 20 for their 20 years. And Vaisnial, I'm sorry, I took 2 years of Spanish in high school and it didn't stick. So we got these 2 fun colors. These are included in the goodie bag, which I'm going to show you here in a second, but I did keep the 2 skeins for myself. And I picked a Joji Locatelli hat pattern, I believe the chubby hat. And I think hopefully, depending on the size I make, I might be able to invert the colors and do 2 hats out of the 2 skeins. But anyway, so we are going to do a giveaway on this episode, and I'm going to be giving away the tote bag. It came with the 2 skeins of yarn that I just showed. Came with this cute little stocking cap ornament or little accoutrement, so you'll get one of those. Came with a scrunchie. So if you got long hair and you want a scrunchie, or you could just wear it as a sweatband, but there's a scrunchie included in there. And then it also came with 2 Malabrigo buttons. So you will get those as well. So you'll get the scrunchie, the hat, 2 skeins of yarn, the tote bag, and the 2 buttons. And all you have to do is leave a comment with the word bulky down below. You can use it in a sentence. You can tell me what are some of your favorite bulky knits or things that you would love to knit out of bulky. But as long as you use the word bulky in your comment on YouTube down below, I will use a random comment picker to select somebody on the next month's episode to win the swag bag from the Malabrigo anniversary party. And once again, I just want to say thank you to Malabrigo for inviting us and being so welcoming. I did feel a little bit like a wedding crasher since we don't actually stock their yarns yet. But I am on their newsletter. I was invited, so I did. I'm like, it's not like I went backdoor and like stole somebody's ticket to get in there. But like I said, it was very much a solidifying that I believe in their company and want to rep them in our store. So I was telling a lot of people about our store at H&H, and I was explaining that especially with the smaller companies that are indie dyers that are going to be, directly competing with our yarns, I want to believe in that company, know their story, believe in their values, and be able to share their story with our customers that see us here in person in our storefront, and to be able to, be a good representative of their line in our store. All right, let's talk about our auctions that we are doing on our Patreon page. If you are not a Patreon subscriber, You can check out the Patreon link down below in the show notes, but we are on Patreon in the hopes to raise funds for continued maintenance and improvements on the historic Taylor McGill building, which is where I'm at right now, which is where the storefront for Leading Men Fiber Arts is. Leading Men are actually, Andy and myself purchased the building almost 2 years ago now. We're coming up on 2 years ago. And there's a lot of work that could be done on the building. We would love to do as much work as we can in our tenure with the building, but funds have to be there. So we thought Patreon would be a fun way to do that. There are 2 tiers, a $1 and a $5 a month tier that you can check out by clicking on the link below. But one of the perks of both tiers is access to the auctions that I do here on the podcast every month. Last month, we were auctioning off the Festival of Stitches wrap by Lisa Haynes that I finished not too long ago. And I'm happy to report that the winning bid was $150, which went into our pot to do some maintenance around the building. And just want to say thank you to Deborah who won that auction. This month's auction is going to be an old shop sample, but it still was knit by me. This is the Abbey Shawl Collar Cardigan. And this is knit out of Harrisville Designs Turbine, which is a bulky weight. And it is a short sleeve shawl collar cardigan. And this, we no longer carry the yarn. We clearanced it out. It just wasn't moving well enough for us. So we wanted to make room for some new additions. So I figured, well, we don't need the sample anymore. And so I'm going to auction it off. There will be pictures and a post on Patreon, but this has been knit in the 47.5 inch bust, but it is an open front cardigan. It's a layering piece, so I feel like it will fit a lot of body types. This did originally use 7 skeins of turbine, and so priced out at current market price for turbine, which is $15 a skein. The starting bid on that cardigan is going to be $105, and we do ask that you leave a comment with a bid higher than the previous bidder by at least $1, and you will be invoiced from the Leading Men Fiber Arts shop, whoever wins, and the bidding will end on May 31st, midnight Central Time or closest thereabout. So check that out. If you have any questions or comments about our auctions, again, feel free to ask them in the comments below. All right, let's move into what's been going on in the actual Leading Men Fiber Arts studio. We have our new colorway of the month called Impressionist. I actually didn't bring the rack over and I didn't grab any of it, so I'm going to be showing you pictures off to the side here as I'm talking about it. This was created by Andy, and it's a wonderful shaded blue with underlying greens, and we did a colorway called Water Lilies last year, and this kind of is different, but it very much mimics this idea of the Impressionist paintings. A lot of times we get invoked with those ideas when we see some of the skeins that we create. So Impressionist was the one that actually got the name this month. And yeah, so the pre-orders are currently down, and we will be listing up all the additional skeins we have dyed of that color here in the next few days. Excuse me. So check that out. Don't forget that our craft lounge is open all day every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you want to travel in on a weekday and hang out with some friends, our craft lounge is open all day. We do have a group that meets from 1 to 3, but now that we have our wonderful shop assistant Sue here every Wednesday, the craft lounge is also open. And both Saturdays that we are open in May, she will also be here. So feel free to stop in, hang out, do some crafting, chat with Sue. Don't forget, we have our Create and Collaborate Club every other Tuesday. Again, you can check out the homepage of Leading Men Fiber Arts under events for all the things I'm talking about, including Create and Collaborate. Our open weekends this month, we will be open Friday and Saturday, May 23rd and 24th. And then we will be open the following weekend, May 30th and 31st. And our Crafternoon for May is scheduled for Saturday, May 31st, again from 1 to 4 p.m. We had a wonderful turnout in April, and can't wait to see all the wonderful makers that will be able to join us in May. If you are not already a member of the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ravelry group, please head on over there and join if you're so inclined. We do a multitude of knit-alongs and make-alongs at any given time, and we don't put harsh timeline deadlines. We give about 3 months for each of our make-alongs over there, so definitely check it out. There's also coupon codes offered and prizes for randomly selected winners who complete the knit-along in the time frame. And last but not least, let's talk about upcoming shows. Where are we going to be over the next few weeks? This weekend, we are going up to Charlotte, Michigan for the Spring Makers Fest. We went there for the first time last year. I believe this is now year 3. And we are excited to be returning once again this weekend. That is Saturday, May 17th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Charlotte, Michigan at the fairgrounds. Come check out the festival. We'd love to see you there and snap a pic with our fiber friends. And then, like I said, we have 2 weekends off. And then the first weekend in June, we will be at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival in Franklin, Indiana. That's just south of Indianapolis. And that is Friday, June 6th from 10:30 to 5:30 and Saturday, June 7th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. There are 3, if not 4, barns filled with vendors, as well as a multitude of classes going on over there. So definitely check out Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival. We always enjoy vending and going to that event. So I will probably see you the Monday after Hoosier Hills when I have time to sit down and record again. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, checking out what I have to offer to my little space here on the internet and the making and crafting community. I thank you so much for your support and So until I see you in June, I hope you have a wonderful month and happy making.